So do I use this?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. So I've actually, do I stand up?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've never run for office, and so I wrote something down that I was going to read, but I think I'll just sort of talk because it seems like that's what everyone's doing. So I'm a mom in the Los Altos School District. We moved here in 2018. And the reason why I'm running is because of what essentially happened to us last year in the school district, and that I hope would never happen to anybody else. We had my daughter experienced things that would amount to some cruelty in the school, and I did reach out to the board, and I didn't hear anything back from them, and I didn't have any avenues of where to go after that, and I ended up going into the medical field and to doctors to take her out of the school, and it was a horrible situation, and so I came out of it with sort of two options: get angry or do something and change, and I decided to get involved and do something to change. Last weekend, I met with, Raina Laurie. She's running for the Board of Education of Santa Clara County. And she also had a very similar experience where her son was diagnosed with something, was misdiagnosed, and eventually that led her to get into politics. And now she's running for the board. And in that vein, I too am running. What happened to my daughter last year should never have happened. And my thoughts were to create a forum to review parental concerns, review bullying, and any other concerning behaviors. There are anti-bullying laws in the state of California, but these things are not always followed through on. Some of the behaviors that occurred last year actually are specifically against the law. But this was a system failure. These were behaviors that led to a catastrophic end. Most of us have jobs that require training on how to avoid a hostile work environment. A hostile work environment is not conducive to working, neither is a hostile school environment conducive to a child learning. And it's important that inclusion not be a platitude that's written on the wall, but is a goal we all strive for. Mental health is very important to me, and I don't think just a therapist is going to solve the problem. There must be a system change and an ecosystem change in the school. And my last point is that teachers are very important, and they're the most important part of the school. And we must come up with a way to support them so that they can live in our community and purchase property in our community with free temporary housing, forgivable loans, increases in salaries, and I hope to recruit teachers from diverse ethnic backgrounds, and so we can enrich our community. My kids are of diverse backgrounds, and so I wanted them to have representation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Board member Sirkay.
Hi. Thank you all for coming out here today. There's a lot of things you could be doing with your Thursday afternoon, so I so appreciate that you came out to hear the women candidates tonight. 4 years ago, I ran for school board on the premise that I have a community health background, and I thought that perspective would be an important perspective to bring to the board, focusing on the whole child. Little did I know that there was going to be a global pandemic about a year and a half after that. And so I feel like my perspective became more important, but now that the pandemic is reaching its endemic phase, I feel like it's even more important now. It's even more important that we focus on the whole child. When we look at learning loss, I want us to look at it not just like academically, but like what is causing the learning loss? Is there something happening at home? We've all been through an incredibly traumatic experience. I'm very proud that our teachers are using trauma-informed practices in their teaching so that we can reach our children. But I think that there's more that we can do to support our kids. I do agree with you, Sara. Our teachers are the backbone of our educational program. We need to be able to recruit and retain teachers. This is a destination school district that I know a lot of us bought homes here to go to the school district. It still is a destination school district for people to work in. But it's taking a little bit longer for people to say yes when we offer them a job. So that to me is very problematic. So learning loss, recruiting and retention, and mental health. Mental health, especially adolescent mental health, is something I feel very strongly about. I think about what our kids have gone through and the hard decisions we had to make in closing our schools, and then opening them, then masking, then not masking. I can only imagine. I know how hard it was for me. As some of you know, I lost my mom at the height of the pandemic, and not being able to mourn her had a profound impact on me. And I can only imagine what kind of an impact that would have on some of our kids who don't have the words or the ability to express how they feel. So I love our school district, and it's been an honor to serve these last 4 years, and I would really appreciate another 4 years to serve. Thank you.
Okay, once again, we will rotate who answers the question first. So this first question will be for board member Sirkay. What is unique about you, and why would you enhance the current board? You're on the board, or what do you bring to the table that is special or unique?
Thank you. I think I answered a little bit of that when I said that I have a different background that I bring to the board. And I think that I have been able to enhance the conversations and, you know, focus a little bit more on some of the behavioral and relational aspects of our program. I think what I bring to the board is my relationship building skills. I'm a relationship builder. I love people. I love reaching out to people. I love talking to people. And I think that, when you're in the Altos School District is not just a school district, we're a member of the community. And I think that building bridges within our community to city council, to our new police chief, who I'm super excited to meet but haven't met yet, those kinds of things are really important. And it kind of creates this bigger kind of safety net, I would say, around our children and our families. And so when I look at the school district, I think of it as a three-legged stool. There's our children and families, there's a school district, administration, and then there's our community. And I want, for most of all, for us to be a good community member within our community. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, same. Okay.
Mhm.
So what's the question about what I bring to it?
Yes.
Okay, it's the same thing. I mean, so it's interesting that you say that because when I was working at O'Connor Hospital, they actually hired me to teach other doctors how to communicate with patients. Like, for instance, right before I came here, I'm on call today. I called a family member that disagreed with the plan of care. I got on the phone, I sat down, and I met with her verbally on the phone so I can see what the problem is. And you know what we did? We came up with a great plan for her mom. And that's very important, being able to communicate with people. Have you read the book Talking to Strangers? Everybody's read it, right? Malcolm Gladwell. It's a fantastic book. If you haven't read it, you should read it. And I felt like our experience last year was like an episode of Talking to Strangers, like one of the stories. Like, this was this communication failure, and I agree 100% that that's what I'm actually really good at. I would sit down, I would listen, I would see what the problem is before a catastrophic event happens, which almost happened in our situation. So that's what I think I bring to the table too. Is the ability to listen, ability to advocate, because that's what I've done pretty much my whole career, is advocated for people. That's why I went into service. There's more. I don't know if you know this, but I'm becoming a teacher. I'm already a doctor, but I've taken the CBEST, I've submitted the forms, and I want to be a teacher before I decided to be a doctor. I've always been interested in service, and so that's just part of who I am. I want to advocate, and I want to be there, and I can see myself getting involved in other things, even depending on how this goes. Thank you. Okay. I'll put it here.
So this question, we'll start with Dr. Farr. This question was submitted by a guest. Enrollment has declined over the past several years. There has been conversations about building a 10th site. Why build a 10th site when existing schools are underutilized?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. It's so interesting because another reason why I'm running is because a lot of people I know did leave. I've met a lot of people that left the school district, and not just because of the pandemic, because all the schools in this area were affected by the pandemic. I mean, most of the schools were somewhat remote. So it's not really that. I think what I found when I talked to a lot of the parents is it's mostly in the lower grades that people are leaving. People want their kids to do well academically, right? Education is the number one way to become successful in America. And so if you sort of dumb down the lower grades, which I understand not having grades at the lower grades, but to not make sure that everybody's meeting the level of the kids at the private schools, a lot of the parents are leaving. Like, I met a lot of people who put their kids in St. Nicholas or St. Simon, and they were shocked to find out how far behind their kids were, like in math and even in reading. And a lot of them said, well, I'm going to leave them here till 6th grade, and then I'm going to put them in Block or Egan, because then they're going to be here, and the public school kids are going to be here. Well, so they're kind of like redshirting their kids. Do you know what I mean? They're trying to push them a little bit ahead. So I think it's really important in the lower grades to be a little more structured and to make sure that all kids meet the level that they need to meet. I can't tell. Is it saying 10 seconds? When you, yeah, I can't see very well. I don't have my glasses.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. First of all, I want to say that I do not agree with the continuum that places public schools at one end and private schools at the other end. I think that I believe that equity in education is not to compare public school kids to private school kids. It's making sure that every child gets what they need to succeed. That is a core value of mine, and it's a core value of our school district. Now, to the 10th site, you know, despite the fact that, yes, many people have left this area, the North of El Camino site still, that area still happens to be the largest growing area of our school district. That area needs a school. They need open space. Um, it's urbanizing pretty quickly, and they need open space. They need a school. Schools tend to stabilize the communities that they're in, providing a very positive focal point. Um, as far as underutilizing our other schools, I think I see where this question may be going. So I'm just going to say flat out that if it ever comes to, I don't think it will, but I do not believe in closing schools. I believe that we are in a downward dip right now, but I believe that the cycle of population dynamics, we're going to go back up again, and we're going to need that space again. So, thank you.
Okay, this question will go to Board Member Sirkay first. What do you think are the two priorities for the district right now, and how would you address them as board member?
Thank you. Well, one of our biggest concerns right now is the mental health of our students and our staff, our teachers and our staff. To that extent, and this is why I really appreciate the board that I'm on, because we all work pretty well together, in the sense that, we had gone to a conference last December and we'd found out about an app that teachers could use to kind of gauge their daily mental health, and if they weren't feeling so great, it would recommend resources. And one of our board members brought that to our district. Had a few conversations with the people who invented that app, the two doctors who invented it, and now we're using it. And I think it's great. You know why I think it's great? It's because not everyone is comfortable going to a therapist. Not everyone is comfortable being able to say, I need help. So having an app is kind of an easy, low stress level way to enter, I believe, the therapy. And of course for our children as well. And we have, safeguards in place. Like I said, our teachers are using trauma-informed practices in their teaching. We've bolstered our social emotional learning program. We have the board approved more funds specifically to look at the mental health of our kids, to support that. Say the two things. I'm going to say retention and recruitment of teachers. I'm very proud of the fact that last year when I was board president, we passed a raise for our teachers. It's really, really important that our teachers be made to feel like they belong here. And part of belonging here is being able to live here. So, thank you.
And Dr. Forresting.
Yeah, so that's why I'm running, is because of mental health. My daughter's now in a different school, and her mental health is completely stabilized. I mean, she's fine. Actually, she was recommended to go on an IOP. That's like a step before inpatient. I'd take her out of the school. She doesn't need it anymore. The ecosystem of the school was not actually conducive to anything. It was horrible. It was a horrible environment. And that's why a forum is necessary, because there will be times like that, right? I know they're facing another lawsuit now. I don't know what that's related to, but there will be times when things are not being dealt with at a level at the school, and there needs to be some sort of forum. I mean, I care what my patients' families think, so I don't understand why somebody wouldn't care what I had to think. It's very important to be able to have somebody who knows how to communicate effectively, to find out what the situation is at home for problem situations so that you could reach in, fix it before it gets worse. So definitely I think mental health. And I think we need to, somebody mentioned here, one of the other candidates, about diversity in the community. When my parents came to California in 1978, they wouldn't sell them a house in Los Gatos, right? Because they were Muslim. They're like, you don't buy a house here. And it's as time has gone on, we've developed a more diverse community, in Almaden where they live, and then later on they moved to Saratoga. But there are still pockets of areas where you feel a little out of place. My kid's half Hispanic too. She had one Hispanic teacher, and then they got rid of her. It's very important to me that we increase that diversity. It helps everybody. The whole community is going to improve, So these two things I believe in.
Thank you. This question will go to Dr. Fara first. If you received a no strings attached $1 million grant, how would you use it?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I would do the form I believe in. I would want to listen. I really believe in advocacy, and I would actually what I would use it for, and then I would like pay the teachers to do it, would be to do a program where you teach them about emotional learning, not just social emotional, but emotional. What does that mean? That means like for instance, right here I'm running for office, right? This is completely outside of what I normally do. I'm pretty introverted actually. This process has made me grow. This is what we need to do for kids. Take them out of their comfort zone. This is how we decrease anxiety. We decrease anxiety by exposure. You put them slowly into more difficult situations where they feel supported, and then they come out better. So people need to be trained on this. So this is what we need to train teachers and educators about. How do we do this? And then I think we need to give them more money, because we need to make sure that they have a nice place to live so they feel good about their job too. Because if you don't, I'm sure nobody became a teacher to become a millionaire. They became a teacher so they can serve. So they deserve, if they're going to be doing extra stuff, extra resources.
If someone gave me $1 million, no strings attached, that's awesome. Like, I would love to be in that situation. I would give our teachers a raise. And I would also look for more creative ways to make sure that they can work here. See, our teachers are the first line of defense for our kids. They're the ones who are going to know if someone came to school in the same clothes 5 days in a row, right? They're the ones who are going to know if a normally extroverted child is now introverted. They do so much, and through the pandemic, we've called on them to do so much more. They are not public health workers, but we've asked them to do that. They're not contact tracers, but we asked them to do that. So I think the teachers that we have in the school district are really amazing and have gone above and beyond. And so yes, I would love to give them a raise. I would love to find more creative ways of helping them be able to live and work here. Gas cards. I think we just gave gas cards during the height of the gas prices. But I think we can also find other creative ways of supporting our teachers, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Sirkay, this question goes to you first. This question was submitted by a guest. Will you support the next renewal of the Bullis Charter School Charter?
I don't think that our school district can vote on it. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah.
The charter school is authorized by the county, so the school board has nothing to do with it.
Right, but I guess the question is, would you support it?
I think the charter school definitely serves a home for families in our school district. I think that their board really needs to sort out the issues that they're having with the county in their enrollment being very homogenous. I think that is a really big issue that they need to sort out. Our school district believes, obviously, in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I don't know that their lottery and enrollment practices support that. So I'd like to see how they respond to the county and what improvements they can make in their enrollment plan. Because it's important, the charter school kids are our kids. Like, these are all our kids. And so I would want all of our kids to have equal access to what the charter school provides. Thank you.
Oh, so I answered that question? Okay. Well, I think I didn't know that there wasn't something, so I'm glad you said that. But yeah, when I first came to LaSalle, I'm just going to be very blunt. I actually thought the charter school here was a little like shishi. Like, why would you have a charter school in such a great school district? But then after my experience, I sort of said, well, maybe people need alternatives. I mean, you might need a situation where your kid's just not getting what they need in the regular public school. And so the alternative, having a charter school, might be something useful. I got to be honest, we did actually apply because I was curious, and we only got for one child an opportunity. I did hear about that there was some issue with him, like they were not accepting a diverse population, which is, obviously concerning. So I don't know the details of that though. But I, now I don't think that anymore. I can understand why. I know some of the people whose kids go to the charter school, and they're kind of like the she crowd. But I think that but now I sort of understand why it's there. So sometimes people might need an alternative form of education, and so I agree with you on that. That some people might want to partake in the charter school too.
Thank you. This question goes to Dr. Fara first. What are your ideas for increasing outreach to and engagement of residents beyond just parents in district affairs?
Like, you mean like activities where you include them, or just outreach to bring them into?
I think communication and how residents of the city can be apprised of what's going on with the district and how they can be involved.
And like school-wide activities. Like maybe they want to, maybe you can have some sort of maybe like a fundraiser where you invite other people.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's fun. That's actually a good idea. Like when we were kids, there was a school in our district that actually put out a carnival every year, and kids from all the other neighborhood schools would come too. So, and that was a way to sort of actually was a fundraiser that included everybody. If that was something that you could do, that'd be pretty nice. And
I think, for instance, both of you have mentioned mental health being a priority for the district.
I see.
And so how could residents who don't necessarily have children in the schools be supporting that effort, encouraging that effort, even be volunteering for that effort? How can you engage the residents of the city holistically, not just the parents who have K-8 kids?
I mean, I know you can get training in some of these programs. I can't think of them offhand, but like nonprofit programs where they train people how to work in mental health. They can even direct, which is the one that starts with an N. You probably know. NAMI. Like they do training, and they can train communities to teach people how to do mental health. And maybe you could do something like that within there that also works with children in the school district. I mean, that could be one possibility. It sounds like you have some ideas.
Yeah, those of you who know me, I always have great question.
But just to be specific, it doesn't have to be about mental health, but
right. So you remember a few questions ago I said that the school district is a community member first and foremost, and we don't hold ourselves separate from the community, right? So in addition to making all of those connections with, for example, the police department and city council, we have to make connections to the other families and individuals who live in Los Altos. And I'll give you a very concrete example, and why I love being a board member, quite frankly. I gave you the example of our other board member who found out about the mental health app, right? So last spring, I found out that the county was giving out, I don't know how many of you are scared about fentanyl, but it scares the bejesus out of me. Like, it's just so random and so scary. So the county was giving out Narcan, right? To school districts, and the police, I think he's a captain in Mountain View, who works with the schools. I asked him, well, how come we have a campus in Mountain View? How come we didn't get that? And he goes, oh, I don't know. So I brought it up with our superintendent. I said, hey, this is really scary, and we really need to have Narcan on our campuses. Not that we have had an issue with fentanyl poisonings, but we could. Some kid may innocently take something. Fast forward, kept pushing it, and now we do have Narcan in all of the AED devices on all of our campuses, and I have confirmed that community members can use those. In other words, it's not just for the kids on the campuses. So there are ways that we can work more closely with our community.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think we have time for 2 more questions. We'll start with Board Member Sirkay for this one. What is your opinion of assisting teachers and staff to have affordable housing, and what specifically would you do?
Thank you. I'll tell you what I have done before I joined the board. I did a lot of volunteering for the school district. A lot of you know that. But one of the things that I also did was I started working with this young woman from Los Gatos who had an affordable teacher housing project. And so what I did in partnering with her, and she was the main person who did this, okay, but I helped her with 2 of the town halls in our school district, like making sure that we brought teachers there to talk about it. I sat in on those town halls, and see, now my throat is going. It broke my heart. It broke my heart that the choices that we are forcing people to make, affordable housing or starting a family. I mean, that is unconscionable to me. Like that, those two should never be in either or. So I would. What was the question about what would I do to support affordable housing?
Yeah.
Our school district did vote, and I was on the board that voted in favor of partnering with Supervisor Simidian. So we do have some housing units there. Very excited that Los Altos City Council is going to build all these affordable housing units. And now it's kind of a question of working with them or whoever to see how many of those spots we can hold for our teachers. So that's what I would do.
Thank you. And Dr. Fara.
Yeah, this is interesting question because I also feel very passionate about this because I think people who go into teaching, they want to be service oriented. They're obviously extremely intelligent. They're educated, and they want to contribute. They deserve to have a home that they own. I really think that's very important that people be able to purchase homes. It's not just that you live in an affordable house in a nice neighborhood. And so, I think that we should come up in Hawaii, for instance, they're giving them loans. Like you come in, like for instance, when I went to Salinas, my first job out of residency, they couldn't get doctors there, so they said if you stay 7 years, we'll give you this amount of money, and if you stay the whole time, it wasn't a lot, but it was enough that maybe you could start to put a down payment down. Something like that would be really helpful. I mean, we want to bring people here, and I think we want them to live here and buy houses and be involved here. I mean, obviously we need more affordable housing, condos or something, so you can get your foot in and then move up. But that's very important to me. I would think that that's more important than just kind of giving them a home while they live here, but that they can buy property and live in this area long term.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. This is sort of similar to the question that I asked the council members in the last round. So, Dr. Fara, we'll start with you. How do you think the district will change in the next 10 years? And how will your 4 years of leadership lead in that direction?
Well, what I'd like to see happen would be that we do work on academics, and I don't agree that we shouldn't. I don't think it's fair that if your parents have money and then go to a private school, then you get a better education. I actually think all kids, regardless of your parents' ability to pay, should be able to get a great academic education. You're not going to be less anxious, right? If you're here academically and the other kids are here, you're going to be more anxious. So you want your kids to be strong academically. You want to support them. So I would think that I would want to have an improvement in that in the lower grades. And I'd really like to see, more diversity in terms of the staff and hopefully the community in the area. I think that would enrich our community so much. I mean, it's pretty good, Los Altos, compared to, some other places. But, like my aunt lives in Richmond, for instance, and she's running for city council there. I mean, you go to places like that and you think this is a little bit different. So I would like to see that more. I'd like to see more diversity in the staff. I think that would make a difference for some of the kids here to see somebody who looks like them. It would help them sort of also, have someone to look up to. Like my daughter, for instance, would feel more comfortable.
So 10 years from now, I'd like to see our 10th site built and operational. I would like to see all of our facilities upgraded, of course. But I see our school. So the reason I ran 4 years ago is because we had such a great K-8 experience in the Los Altos School District. And I love the school district. I've done a lot of volunteer work district-wide. And I wanted to preserve what was so special about the school district for future generations, for future families that were going to move into Los Altos. And so I see part of my role as a board member in making sure that we maintain our academic excellence and strive for more. that we recruit and retain teachers and strive for more, right? Like, I'm totally a continuous quality improvement kind of person. So no matter how great it is, I'm sure it can always be a little bit better. So that's what I would like to see, that we are a thriving school district, that our teachers feel happy and engaged, that our families feel happy and engaged, that we're reaching all of our families, right? And that we're a good, solid member of the community, that we're giving back to the community, not just educating the kids, not just having fields where AYSO soccer can, play its games, but more outreach that way. So, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's give a round of applause to the two candidates for Trustees School District. We're going to pivot now to our third panel, which will be the candidates running for Mountain View Los Altos High School District Board of Trustees. Everyone can get up and take like a 30-second stretch because this is going to be a lot of candidates coming up. But don't go far.
That sounds good. So he thinks still rest is with the 4 people with the